President Donald Trump of the United States of America has formally announced that if necessary, he's going to permanently stop the immigration of citizens of third world countries or any country that he and the United States administration understand that are jeopardizing the tranquility and national well-being. So, of course, we're going to have a conversation on the matter. I have certain opinions that I want to share with all of you, and you guys are more than welcome to start your conversations and your own opinions in the comments. But first and foremost, I want us to take a quick look at the news outlet, and we're going to start off the discussion right after we watch the clip.
It was President Trump who announced the death of Specialist Beckstrom, one of the Guards members he had put on crime patrol in Washington. Hours later, he announced a further crackdown on immigration. CBS News has learned it includes a pause on all asylum decisions. Weijia Jiang is in West Palm Beach, Florida.
President Trump announced he would permanently pause migration from, quote, third world countries. He is also threatening to revoke U.S. citizenship from foreign-born Americans who undermine domestic tranquility and calling for a review of all green card holders from 19 countries of concern, including Iran, Venezuela, and Afghanistan.
When you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands, they made a terrible mistake.
As the Afghan war came to a chaotic end in 2021, a program called Operation Allies Welcome allowed more than 76,000 Afghan nationals into the United States. Many of them, including the shooting suspect, had worked with the U.S. CBS News' Nancy Cordes asked President Trump about that.
He was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other.
The Department of Homeland Security says it will be reviewing all asylum cases approved under the Biden administration. Sean Van Diver is an advocate for Afghan migrants.
My number one concern is that all these 195,000 Afghans that came here during the last administration are going to be painted with the brush of this man.
A DHS official tells CBS News the suspect's asylum case was approved under the Trump administration earlier this year.
When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out.
And Weijia Jiang joins us now. So the president just announced a new plan to reverse the majority of executive orders under former President Joe Biden. Did he say why?
That's right, Tom. President Trump says he is canceling all the executive orders signed by former President Biden that were used with an auto pen instead of his hand. Trump claimed without evidence that Biden was not involved when an auto pen was used, and he threatened that if Biden claims he was, he will face charges of perjury. Biden has repeatedly addressed attacks on his use of the auto pen, insisting that he made the decisions when it came to executive orders, pardons, and legislation. Tom?
Weijia Jiang, we know you'll stay on top of things. Weijia, thank you.
So there it is, guys. That's exactly what the news have to say on the matter and what President Donald Trump has to say himself on the matter. So I want to read to you guys. This is a tweet from Trump. This is actually very recent. This was just tweeted about 5 hours ago. It says, Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 212. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. So like I mentioned before, this was tweeted by Donald Trump about 5 hours ago, and this is what he has to say in terms of the law and regulations that allow him to make this decision of just like either, I would say temporarily or permanently stop the immigration of specific countries, specific citizens, specific types of either migrants or non-migrants into the country, into the United States of America. Now, As you guys know, I am from New York. I live in New York, and illegal immigration tends to be an issue that the city of New York has to battle with quite a lot, quite a bit, regardless of who's in power, regardless of the president, regardless of the party that is currently leading the administration. Now, my opinion on the matter relies specifically on three main points, and I want to share them with you guys. So, number one, I think this is the time to start being honest with ourselves as a country, and we need to seriously have a conversation as to how many undocumented people we have in this country. I'm not talking about people who have a protection status. I'm not talking about green card holders. I'm not talking about people who have the necessary paperwork in order for them to legally, with a permit, stay within the confines of the United States of America. I'm talking about illegal migrants, people who either just barged into the country with no permit whatsoever, no document, no paperwork, or overstayed whichever permit they were given for a specific period of time. So I want to kick off this bullet point with the conversation of how many, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know the number, how many unchecked, unregulated migrants we got into the United States of America between the years 2020 and 2024. Now, remember, these numbers are estimates, and they are most likely to be a lot more than the numbers presented over here. This is just from a regular Google search. So it says, estimates of the unauthorized population. The Center for Immigration Studies estimated an increase from approximately 10.2 million in January of 2021 to 14 million in March 2024, a preliminary estimate. This is, without a doubt, an outrageous, unbelievably high number. Most people watching this video would not allow, I guarantee you that 99.9% of you guys would not allow an unregulated, uninvited individual, not even into your front yard, let alone 14 million people, estimate, into your country. This is the conversation, the honest conversation that we need to have, that both the right and the left have to have. Sit down and have a proper, honest conversation without the left labeling the right as xenophobes and racist and whatever else they want to call the right. No labeling, no hypocrisy, just an honest conversation that recognizes and acknowledges the fact that 14 million people, give or take, into any country is indeed a problem, and it needs to be regulated and it needs to be fixed. But most importantly, and first and foremost, it needs to be stopped. Now, my second point, what are we going to do to repatriate the people that are staying in the country illegally? And what are we going to do to regulate the stay of the ones that we're not going to be able to get back to their countries? Because we have to be real here. If we allow 10 million, 14 million, 20 million, some sources even establish that it may be 22 million illegals, we're not going to get them all out. It is impossible. So now, yes, we took the first step, which is we closed the faucet. We turned down the power breaker. Okay, good. Now, what are we going to do in order for us to get as many people out as we possibly can? Because remember, these are undocumented, unchecked individuals. Some people may be very honest and very hardworking, but we don't know who these people are. This is not an emotional issue. This is a practical issue. A person who's in any country illegally and unchecked and undocumented can do anything, and you cannot even pinpoint or identify that individual because they got no papers, they got no ID, they got nothing. So it is all beautiful, when you see the left, when you see these people in marches, these activists, oh, nobody is illegal. There's no such thing as an illegal person. Oh, there's no such thing as borders. That all sounds beautiful in paper. But what happens when some random guy encounters your daughter coming back from college, grabs her into an alleyway, sexually abuses her, and leaves her to die in the middle of a cold, dark alley, maybe for the cops or maybe for any other citizen to find her at the verge of dying, needing medical attention, and she needs to be brought into the hospital and rescued if she's even still alive, and you cannot even identify the individual who did that because they're unchecked and they're undocumented. Now, is that each and every single illegal immigrant? No, absolutely not. There are beautiful, wonderful, hardworking people who come into the country with the best of the intentions. But should we take the risk? I don't think so. And I am going to die on that hill. Everybody who comes into the country, regardless of their circumstances, should have a proper, legal, checked, regulated permit and entry into the nation, so that that person can be held accountable for whichever good or bad they do while they're inside the borders of the country. So now, last but not least, number 3. We've already mentioned how the first step is to stop the influx of people coming into the country. Number 2 is taking back as many people as humanly possible because they're here illegally. But then number 3, what are we going to do in order for us to regulate legally the vast majority of illegal migrants that obviously, for the most part, we're not going to be able to repatriate back to their corresponding nations? Because we got to be realistic here. We're not going to be able to take everybody back. Therefore, we're going to have to, as a country, manage this big population of undocumented, unchecked, unregulated people. Now, what are we going to do? How are we going to put systems in place that allow us to turn these people into contributing, responsible, and respectable members of society? And with those 3 points in mind, I think we can finally start having an honest conversation and a proper course of action in order for us to be able to fix once and for all our illegal immigration issue in the United States of America. So I just want to close out with the fact that, again, we need to have this conversation with honesty, without attacking each other, without looking into the issue from an emotional standpoint, but from a practical, professional, conscientious, we just have to look into this from a practical level, from a practical perspective and mentality. I do not understand this hyperfixation, this obsession that the entire world has with who the United States of America allows into their country, inside of their borders, and what we do for us to be able to tackle effectively and efficiently our illegal immigration issue, which is a massive problem. And it needs to be addressed and it needs to be fixed. And I am always going to be a proponent that if you are an illegal immigrant, or you're a legal immigrant, doesn't matter. If you're an immigrant, you have to first and foremost be grateful for the country that allows you and your family to build a life inside of its borders, and you need to assimilate. You now have the responsibility and the duty to be a representative of that country's values, of that country's morals, and what that country stands for. Yes, of course, you can bring in your intelligence, your grit, your determination, your work ethic, your morals, and your values. But now you need to combine all of that and assimilate it into the way of living on the country, what the country stands for, what the country represents, and always be grateful that you and your family are given the opportunity and the blessing of being able to build a generationally healthy future inside that country. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you, and see you all in the next one. Dad of duty. Cheers. Hello there, and thank you very much for watching today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, do not hesitate to like and subscribe to the channel for you to get more content like this. Thank you very much. God bless you, and see you on the next one.